All right, Cam Sutton. We mentioned this briefly yesterday, too. We have a little more detail as to his situation. He's been released by the Lions. But the details, the sheriffs down in Florida said after weeks of evading law enforcement, the man has finally made the right choice to turn himself in. Quote, domestic violence has no place in our community, and no one is above the law here in Hillsborough County. My thoughts are with this woman as she continues to heal from this man's gruesome actions. That's the quote from the sheriff's office. Worth noting that Sutton has been charged with a misdemeanor, domestic battery, whereas the original charge was domestic battery by strangulation, which was a felony. So this has been lowered. Sutton's statement. Both Mr. Sutton and the mother of his children request privacy in this matter as they view this as a family matter and wish to resolve it as a family.
So the ball it doesn't necessarily have to be in her court. In fact, it's not at all.
Because they can move forward.
They can move forward without her support if they feel like maybe she is backing off for, maybe she feels threatened. Or
financial reasons.
There's a lot of different reasons. But if they feel, when they showed up at the incident, what were the findings at that time? And they mentioned that there were visible marks. All right. And again, none of us were there, so we don't know. But the facts that and I think it's interesting too, the words that they released yesterday, evading police. I'm wondering if he had just, stayed at the scene, owned up to it at the time, or hey, we're looking for Cam Sutton. He knew it. Obviously he had contacted his attorney. He knew it. At some point, do you negotiate a surrender and say, hey, within 48 hours, I'm going to turn myself in, instead of going 2 weeks before we even found out about it? 2 weeks before the media was alerted, another week before he turns himself in. So they use the words evading law enforcement. Now you've done all you can to make them mad. Not only, and this is not, I don't mean to say that in regards to dismissing what he did, the action in and of itself.
So I want to ask a question. From a felony to a misdemeanor, and if she is not going to cooperate further, did the Lions act too quickly? We've got your drop in the system to let it play out. Did they act too quickly here, or do you still feel like they made the right choice? I think they were spooked by the fact that he wouldn't turn himself in when they told him to. I think to them that spoke a lot to his character, that he wasn't willing to take accountability, not in the immediate aftermath of something horrific, but weeks later, he still was not going to turn himself in. I feel like the combination, those two things, and call it what it is, it's not like he was an all-pro. I don't think they acted too quickly, but I think it's a question we can ask given the continuing story here, where if it's not a felony, where they're going to have to pursue this without the woman's cooperation. What is your reaction to the Lions' decision as more details have come out?
Well, they have a policy in place. Rod Wood addressed that in regards to domestic violence, and they followed their policy. So no, I don't think that they acted too quickly. And there's a big difference for letting, as I've said, certain things play out. We're looking at this whole Rashee Rice thing in Kansas City. Now, it happened down in Texas, but he's a Kansas City wide receiver.
Yeah.
And that's one where I think, they're gonna see how this plays itself out, because they got to get more details. And, there were no catastrophic injuries as being reported. And so they're gonna figure out the details, and then they're gonna come up with what they deem is appropriate for their franchise. Now, it's going to be different for different franchises. It's also going to be different for different players. If Cam Sutton was, 4-time All-Pro, whether you want to admit it or not,
it's a real thing, people.
They would be willing to put up with more off-the-field issues if he was a dominant shutdown corner versus, well, he's going to be CB2, and we're hoping that maybe Amik Robertson or some of these other guys will continue to play better.